person who's doing really, really well, like with a bunch of comics. And we have some more like, lined up. And the people who we talked to last year, quite a lot of them have been moving over to featured and webtoon too. So but yeah, today is a bit more of an indie show where we talk about certain hot button topics. And so monetization, because it's a big issue for like a lot of big artists. Like, I mean, some of us here are a little bit more in pursuit of like actually going pro or like serious hobby. That's why Nan's titled it "Artists Gotta Eat."
Yeah, man. Artists gotta eat. I'm sure everyone's hungry to get some money. I need dollarize. I need to get dollar sunglasses. But yeah, like money's good. We all love money. Everyone wants money, more money. And when you do anything creative, money is elusive as fuck. Kaz retweeted something earlier from Jen Bartel, which I'm sure everyone knows because she's that popular, where she was like, even when it comes to stuff, like it was basically talking about products that are being made and how people will slander you because they don't think it's good enough. And I think the reason why people would do that is because like they've paid money, so they think that they deserve the right to call you out, and that's gonna become useful. It's gonna become useful later when you start trying to monetize your work, because a lot of people who will give you money think that they have the right to call you out for it. It's Maymula's life, but. What do you call it? Getting the money is the first part that everyone always has the issue with. For the most part, I've noticed that like you won't get paid for your first maybe
comic
100 chapters of a comic, even if it's good, even if it's really good. No one wants to give you money for the first 100 chapters. And it's not always that they don't want to. Quite often, especially when you make comics, you are targeting a very young audience, and they don't have money.
So she's made money two ways, or like a couple of ways. But then the biggest way is like to get someone to pay you to draw a comic. But
get someone who is either a very good investor and knows what they're doing with money and knows how to make themselves money. So that means you have a constant flow of cash, or someone who has no idea what they're doing but they really want to throw money somewhere. Don't feel bad. They know what they're doing. They deserve that.
The big con is that chances are like, if you have like if you go the sugar daddy route where someone pays you to draw. Wow, I can't believe I just said that, by the way. If sugar daddy route where someone pays you to draw, chances are they have an idea they want to see, and it's not going to be yours all the time. So it's not fully like 100% your story, but
prepared to be creatively unfulfilled. Okay, so you get that initial bit where people can give you money, but you're not gonna get that until you get yourself up a couple levels. You get yourself known. Now, Carrie could do it because Carrie can draw without outlines. I'm joking, but Carrie can do it because he's skilled and he makes his deadlines, and someone's seen that, someone noticed him. The only way you will get that sugar daddy is by getting noticed. The sugar daddy method requires a lot of time, regardless of how effective it is. So then the most effective, and besides then, that's only still temporary. One guaranteed way to get the best way to get cash from people is to have them give it to you because it's you. They shouldn't be giving you cash because you're doing work for them. They should be giving you cash when you're doing the work that you enjoy doing, and they just like you enough to give it to you. Of course, they want something back in return, but for the most part, that's their main reason. An easy example would be yeah, pretty much. The real question is how to get people to like you, Gonzo. That's it. How to get the people who you draw
it's an event. It's an investment.
Yeah,
that's
investment of time.
No two ways about it.
Yeah. What do you call it? The rule Patreon has, because a friend of mine worked there and we were talking about it. He was teaching me a bunch of stuff the other week. But the rule Patreon has essentially is 1 to 2% of your people that actually watch you will give you money.
Publishing methods. Traditional publishing is still alive in some form, but as a way to break into the market, you are going to struggle a little bit more. Like, especially, it's a lot easier to start breaking into comics a lot more when you have produced your own comic. And it's hard to get people to take on your very first project to publish in print, like especially for these like names and all that. So the best way for the people is to use the internet. Like I have a love-hate relationship with all these like social media platforms, art platforms, because they make it easy for the underdog to get known. So the internet, best way to get like your first work out there and to actually build a following of some form.
Indeed.
Because otherwise you're gonna have to consider like doing the whole like hustle of like conventions and stuff like that. And it's a very good practice to do. I personally like going to conventions because that
Yes.
human connection and all. But
Yes, it
at the
is. It
same
really
time,
brings people into caring about what you make.
if you want to like go ahead and self-publish, fund a print run, like when barely anyone knows you, go ahead, be our guest. But
It's gonna be,
it's
you'll make a massive loss. Like,
it's demotivating.
yeah,
It's demotivating when no one wants to buy your print work.
exactly. I think
No matter how long you've drawn for, or
Yeah.
like every artist, right? When they first start doing comics, I almost always say, why not do a few like pages in
Yeah.
like do like a one shot in a workflow that you think that you might be doing for the rest of the comic.
Yeah.
Because even if you have like you're sort of like familiar in a bit here and there, you will never really feel comfortable with the workflow until you've done at least a few chapters.
So, like, before we talk about how we make the money, talk about how you get to the stage where you can actually start producing your stuff. Think about it before you get there. Make a workflow that works for you. Make a system in which creating what you're creating is efficient, consistent, and good. And I know that word good has like 1,000 different meanings to 1,000 different people, but just make it good enough for you. All right, you can get to the bet. You can get better later.
But yeah, you need to have a solid workflow. There's no two ways about it. If you're hoping that someone will pick you up on the basis of a comic that you haven't already made, or like they will pick you up because you're an ideas guy, you have really good ideas. No, for the record,
everybody has good ideas. I'm just gonna let
by the way, do not go and approach like people who write and draw comics and say, I have an idea I really wanted to see for a comic and stuff. Do not approach them with that sort of thing, because
never approach them with that sort of thing.
Because chances are, A, they want to do their own stuff, that's why they're probably in the biz. B, if they do think like your idea is great and they draw it, it's a lot messier than it's going to be, because if it makes money, a lot of people come back and go, hey, I gave the idea for that, I deserve a cut of it.
Also, there's the added point of like, look, it's great to be the ideas writer guy. I get it, right? It's really good. But if you don't have the clout to go up to someone and ask them to do something, don't do it. If they're your friend, good. Do it. Every sugar daddy relationship will end, right? All of them will end. Doesn't matter how big your sugar daddy is. Eventually, they'll stop paying for it. They'll move on or go broke or whatever. They'll just somehow it will end. And you need to ask yourself, where will I be when that's over? Will I be the guy that all the people think is a creative individual and you're making some good stuff? Everyone's like, yeah, they make good stuff. When people talk about you after that, do you want them to will they talk about you positively? Or would they be like, he started out like a hack and like he got better, but I was already lost by page 15. You need to know where you want to stand.
I joke about this, but I mean, I think some people know that I'm getting like money for like here and there for like a bunch of like different projects. That some of them are editing, some of them are like project management, like for this tabletop RPG that's being produced. But honestly, it's a lot better. Like, it's safer for you to have different avenues where you can monetize. Platforms like this is where we get to Hoshino's question. Platforms like Line and Tapas have already got like inbuilt audiences and algorithms to increase your visibility. So leverage that, and that's way to like build that kind of like following. And I'm not with how consistent they will be depends on how consistently you do updates.
But it's not just how consistently you do updates, and some unfortunate part of creation, the market doesn't always want what you've got. The market usually wants something specific. For example, a very easy one is Tapas's big moneymaker is, I say moneymaker, but Tapas's big audience puller is BL. Webtoon's big audience puller is fantasy. It's just, and romance. It's just what it is, And if you've got something that fits into those genres, do not hesitate to go into them. I'm not saying write into them because you see they make money. Don't do that, because it usually ends up with you making something hollow, meaningless, and generally shit. Like, write into, and
you will cry.
You just gain your audience by doing what you do as well as you can. Don't gain your audience by trying to muscle into someone else's territory. It doesn't work. Doesn't work.
By the way, for a first attempt, don't use your pet project as your first foray into trying to make money, or trying to make your first comic as well. Like, if you had an idea you've always wanted to tell for ages and you want to make it as a comic,
Think of that idea
my
and then never make it.
yeah, it feels a little bit dirty to try and promote yourself and like try and get your money that way. But
don't
hey,
over promote yourself using the premise of being poor, but do promote yourself, because the only thing your work is selling is you. So the more people can have and also this is actually a strange thing, but a lot of the time the people who are reading your stuff actually want to know about you. They just don't want to give you cash, and that's good enough, because quite often you can transform engagement into money. I sound like one of those people who would do all those get rich quick schemes on YouTube, but you can transform your engagement.
Get rich talks,
yeah. But you can transform your engagement into cash money. All right. All you need to do is tell them what your social media, and that's it. Like it may sound scummy, but you'll be hemorrhaging people who might just be reading one chapter. You'll be hemorrhaging people who might read every chapter, but like they've never thought of looking up your artist name on Twitter or YouTube or whatever. So if you have a place, and don't put like 9, put like 3, maybe 2. If you have a place where you want to focus your efforts of focus the people you're going to, choose the 2 places where you consider your primary sources of engagement, and just send them there. Places, choose your Twitter if you tweet a lot, choose your Instagram if you post images every day, because like everyone in the universe, your vanity is just a little bit high.
You take risks, but take
logical risks,
measured risks. It's probably quite clear at this point that you can either make money by having a small subset of loyal people who will keep paying over and over and over again.
Yeah, I remember that. That was
having a large crowd and everyone just flings it a dollar.
Having your own website, I'm gonna say this to you, dude. Having your own website is only as useful as you are.
It's more of a portfolio thing. Like use it to create, like sort of use it as like a business card portfolio. So like a snippet of like, this is who I am, my profile. These are like some of my selected works. So like this is like sort of like a profile page for your webcomic, and then say read it on Webtoon. Obviously, like it's nice to have like eye-catching, colorful like art all over your merch, but subtle stuff has a market for it. Like you can actually bring it somewhere and people will. You mean not just the loud and proud part. You can actually bring it like somewhere like a little bit more formal, especially if your audience is a little bit more grown up. Then they're more likely to have and if they're more likely to pay, they're usually more likely to have jobs that require a little bit more
seriousness.
A little bit more seriousness. So if you can actually make merch that is a bit fun but not like OTT, that is probably, for me personally, a good idea to like look at some stuff like that.
Because if one day Patreon just stops, goes under as a company, or all the servers die, or they fuck up, or literally one of all of the people who support them just go, nah, you're not fun anymore. In one afternoon, in 1 week, in 1 month, your entire revenue stream is gone, and you have no plan. A lot of people literally, like, from their Patreon, because their Patreon is basically paying them just enough, and they're working with just enough, they have no savings to do more. The person who is giving you who's feeding you today is most likely going to feed you tomorrow. Find a way to be valued outside of that individual, outside of that space, outside of that place, because no matter how much you love that place, they are not the be all end all. So yeah, for the most part, I think those are basic monetization strategies. Make it easy for people to get to you. Make it easy. Make it easy for people to want to give you money by offering things. Make your merchandise, make good shit, make your merchandise, and make the things you use to you monetize outside of your comic appeal to a wider audience by hitting the general niches. Be okay with the fact that you will most likely not make money for a good long period of time.
Yeah, anime Kaz looks so much better than the real life person, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, big love and shout out for the art goes to Zebra A4, right? That's her Twitter.